So Donald Trump was just pew-pewed in the ear. He's seen bleeding from his ear at a rally in Pennsylvania. And I just want to make this video for posterity's sake because I'm 100% sure about what's about to happen next. Donald Trump is going to get a post pew-pewing, I'm trying to be taken out by the establishment, bump in the polls. He's already leading Joe Biden by like 4 to 5 points at this point post-debate. And Joe Biden already has a historically low approval rating already. Democrats are going to come out and say, this is not how we defend democracy. We're going to beat them at the polls. And it's actually not going to go in their favor because remember what I've said about all of their communications regarding Trump? Every single thing that they have said and done up until this point centers targeting Trump. Trump ideals. His face is one of the first things you see on his website. I would even venture to guess that his name is featured more often on Biden's campaign website than Biden's own name. Donald Trump is going to have to present himself as a martyr. He's just going to. And the Democrats are going to be caught scrambling because every single thing, like I've said, that they've said and done up until this point specifically pinpoints Trump. Anti-Trump everything. And before you're like, well, what are they supposed to do? Remember when I said hope, inspiration, getting people excited? That would have helped mitigate the moment we're about to enter into. I can guarantee it. Because now he's a victim. Now he's a real victim after everything that has happened. And whether or not people think this is a conspiracy or not, doesn't really matter. It is the visual representation of him as a victim that will carry him through this election.
Cis actors who have played transgender roles in Hollywood have been nominated for Oscars 9 times, and 2 of those times they have taken home the Oscar. Do you know how many times transgender actors have been nominated for an Oscar? Let's start with a breakdown of some of the most discussed cis performances of transgender characters in Hollywood. Cis female Hilary Swank portrayed a transgender boy in a 1990 film titled Boys Don't Cry. She also won Best Actress for her performance. The film has since received much backlash. Cis female actress Felicity Huffman also was nominated for an Oscar for her 2005 performance in the film Transamerica. Cis male actor Cillian Murphy depicts a transgender woman in the 2005 film Breakfast on Pluto, which follows the wild journey of Kitten finding her place and identity in the world. And Jared Leto won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for playing Rayon, a transgender woman in Dallas Buyers Club, a performance which has been critiqued as disgusting and a gross attempt at Hollywood earning inclusivity points without actually doing the work. Now, there are many talented transgender actors in Hollywood right now. My favorite is Patty Harrison. Every time she appears in a sketch on I Think You Should Leave, I know it is going to be solid gold. She's hilarious. But the Oscar nominations show you that Hollywood loves exploring stories of transgender people, but why don't they hire transgender actors for these roles? The answer to my question at the beginning of the video, how many times have transgender actors been nominated for an Oscar performance? The answer is 0. 0 times. Yet 9 times transgender character performances by cis people have been nominated. So what can we do? Well, I was recently informed by somebody who follows me about a film that is currently being crowdfunded right now titled Stakeout. The film is written and directed by Charlie Peppers, who is a writer who wrote an Emmy-winning episode for Rian Johnson's Poker Face, which starred Natasha Lyonne. The protagonist of this film, Stakeout, is a transgender black woman portrayed by a transgender black actress, Lorraine Giselle. The film is pitched as X-Men meets Carrie, sort of a suspense thriller. It sounds super interesting. Check out their page on Seed and Spark. They have quite a bit to go in funding. I hope you'll consider supporting this film as we need to see more transgender characters portrayed by transgender actors in Hollywood.
Which Minecraft player are you? Tag your friends down below. The builder, the fighter, the racist. Steve.
Breaking news, there was just an attempted assassination on Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. For obvious reasons, I can't show the video, but what I can show is the aftermath photo. With that said, here's a quick recap of what happened. A shooter opened fire, grazing Donald Trump's ear before he got down with Secret Service for about a minute, and then immediately stood up and raised his fist. He is still alive, he is in full recovery, and he was rushed to the hospital. While I have your attention, and while I know a lot of you are going to jump to conspiratorial thinking and thinking that it was staged, I want to use this as a moment to talk about how Ronald Reagan's attempted assassination guaranteed him the presidential victory. It can be found if you look up this article, and I'll basically be summarizing it. But after the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan, his polling and approval ratings skyrocketed. He went from 70% Republican support, 50% independent, and 30% Democratic, to an increase in 20% for each party. Almost 100% of Republicans supported him, 70% of independents, and around 50% of Democrats. The story that Donald Trump is a man that continuously fought for his country regardless of the adversities is going to be used. And we know that because it's already happening. So regardless of whether or not you think this is staged, I want you to engage with this critically, because even if it is somehow staged, the narrative is still out there, and it's still going to be used to propel him in a way that we haven't seen since the last attempt at a presidential assassination.
So like whenever anyone's like, capitalism drives innovation, I just want to like scream, bro. Do you understand? Because it literally does the opposite. Capitalism kills competition. That's why we have so many monopolies right now, right? Yeah, and eventually where all that's left is the optimal model, right? And it's not because that specific product is the best, it's because that specific product is the best at making money. And then everything becomes exactly the same. Which you see literally everywhere, right? With our cars, with our housing, with our clothes, with our entertainment, it all ends up being the exact same thing. It is so boring. I feel insane because you can't make anyone understand that there's no freedom in a system that relies so heavily on genocide and slavery. There's no such thing as a free system unless everyone is actually free. So when you have a system that's so heavily compliant on genociding natives across the seas and doing slavery domestically and abroad, eventually that catches up to you, bro. And eventually you're the one that's next on the list because they've extracted all of the life and wealth from everyone else, and you're the only one with anything left, so they're gonna take it from
What if I took you on a date and I ordered souffle and then a trans person walked out of the kitchen one day?
Hold on, pause. Where's that even coming from? Why did he bring that up?
I don't know, man. It's Eminem. I'm sure he won't talk about it the whole time, though.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead and play it again.
Gen Z's trying to cancel me. Yeah, that's weird. Be even weirder if there was some kind of trans person here. Oh, now you're offended.
There it goes again. Why does he keep doing it?
Also, why is Gen Z in it? We don't think about this.
Yeah, exactly. This is just weird.
It's Eminem.
I don't know,
It's
whatever.
Eminem.
He's got to pivot at some point in time. Go ahead and play the rest of it.
Hey, trans people. Why are you like this? Pronouns are stupid too, bro.
Oh my God. Just turn this shit off.
It literally happened 5 hours ago. How is there already Donald J. Trump attempted assassination merch? How are people already wearing the shirts that they have printed out and are selling them on live in multiple colors? It literally happened 5 hours ago.
Majority of you don't even know enough about slavery to be talking about slavery, let alone trying to compare slavery to other historical atrocities like the Holocaust. As an archival historian, somebody who is trained particularly on the subject of slavery, that is my area of expertise. The general public still does not have an accurate conception of what slavery is, what slavery was. And that is not a coincidence. That is a remnant of the atrocity that was slavery. That is intentional. Slavery lasted for centuries. Slavery shaped nations, shaped entire systemic structures. The economic effects of slavery are still felt today. And the general public does not understand or even have an accurate baseline conception of what slavery was. That is unique. That is unique to slavery. Slavery, like, I'm not saying, okay, it's worse, it's better, etc. That's not how you should be conceptualizing slavery. That's not even how you should be thinking about slavery. You should be thinking about slavery from the perspective of it is not comparable to anything else. It is a completely unique historical atrocity. Slavery lasted for centuries, and all of the historical accounts and narratives that we have of slavery are still biased. Majority of the histories, if not all, that we have on slavery come from the perspectives of enslavers. Enslaved people had such little agency that they had no control over how the historical narratives of their own torment were being written. We know so little about the interior lives of enslaved people, despite the fact that slavery lasted for centuries and there were just unfathomable horrors that occurred during slavery for centuries, that there's an entire discipline of academic history dedicated to beginning to fabricate, beginning to conceptualize what their lives were like. Slavery is not comparable to anything else. Most of you don't even have a baseline understanding of what slavery was. Because if you did, you would know why it's just not comparable to anything else. If you want to learn more about slavery, okay, cool, we can have that conversation. You guys can start reading the journals of like plantation owners like Thomas Thistlewood. They're absolutely heinous, but they'll give you a little bit more of an understanding into how bad it was. But as far as trying to compare slavery to other things, no, it's not comparable. Like, stop doing that. It's not productive, it's not comparable, and honestly, it doesn't really do anything but rage bait people into having conversations they're just not equipped to have. So, That's all I'm gonna say on that. If we want to learn more about slavery, let me know. We can have those conversations. I'm always here to, educate and do that. But like, no, stop this conversation.
She looked me dead in the eye. Then my pants got bigger. She already knew what to figure. Had her looking at her boyfriend like, oh, that nigga, baby, don't choose.
I saw that Black creator's video about how we teach the Holocaust, and I do think Yuval's stitch was disingenuous. Because immediately after I saw that Black creator speaking, I knew exactly what they meant. We have to remember that the United States educational system will never, ever teach us anything that they cannot personally benefit from down the line, particularly when it comes to history and our collective historical memory. This is why a lot of people who are outside of marginalized communities say that post-secondary education is where they've learned the most about American history, not through the lens of the K through 12 educational system, but rather it's even depending on the professor or the school that you go to, but rather they have expanded their knowledge about marginalization and the histories that have led us here to where we are today. It's for that reason that Republicans want to refer to chattel slavery as forced migration or indentured servitude. It is for this reason that our educational textbooks, the things that we want to give to our children, the next generation, are constantly battlegrounds for the truth. And that's exactly what that person was talking about. So from the eyes of the U.S. educational system, how would it service the U.S. government? How would it service U.S. interests to teach about King Leopold? To teach about the very stark realities of the transatlantic slave trade? Even when we talk about the civil rights movement, a lot of things are simply brushed over in service of promoting nonviolence over any other form of action. What purpose does that serve? We cannot just imbibe historical texts, especially that is handed to us by local and state governments in the form of curriculum requirements, right? And not ask, why is this a version of history that we are taught? And to say that the horrors of the Holocaust were unique because of Germany being a civilized society completely eradicates the fact that that civilized society is something that marginalized people have never experienced from European entities. Which is why people ask, like the academic conversation that was being had, why aren't the atrocities that were experienced by the Congolese held up to the exact same light? And for me, in my opinion, it's because it didn't serve a purpose for Western entities to do so.